This is UMAR AHMED for IFL TV in association with MTK Global, down at the Landmark today. Big signing for Frank Warren, Joyce. I'm joined by Adam MORALEE, the infamous Adam MORALEE. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, Umar. How are you, mate?
Good. I know you've been flying around all over the world. How's it been? Antigua, was it?
Yeah, had a nice holiday, and before that went to LA for Guido's fight, which was good. Another good performance by Guido on a top-ranked show this time, so that was great.
Of course, he's out on the Fury Schwartz bill.
Yeah, he's out on Fury Schwartz. We're really excited about that. Another good platform for Guido, June 15th in Vegas. So he's already in 4 fights. He'll have boxed in Madison Square Garden, Las Vegas. You know, he's doing brilliantly.
Let's talk about the juggernaut. Why Frank Warren?
So if you look back at Joe's journey, he started off with David and Richard. And David did a tremendous job for him, promoting him in the UK. He got him on terrestrial TV. He started to get him more well-known. And then when David and Richard's partnership split up, Joe went with Richard. Richard has got him mandatory for the WBA regular. He's got him mandatory for the for Cabayel's title. He's fighting for the British title, which has been ordered by the board. So Richard's done a fantastic job, but we very much felt that we needed a major partner to get behind Joe in the UK. And we want Joe to fight more in the UK than he does in America. And that's why we brought Ringstar and Frank Warren together.
Well, BT Sport is obviously a huge platform. They've got the Champions League, rights to the Premier League, and they're putting on loads of boxing UFC. So, yeah, it's a brilliant platform to be on.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic for Joe. You know, BT's kind of 3 or 4 times the size of Sky. We really, really want them to get behind Joe, and I'm really hopeful that Joe has the possibility, I'm not saying he is now, but he has the possibility to be kind of the biggest heavyweight fighting regularly in the UK, with people like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury now based in the States. Obviously, you've got Dillian Whyte, but outside of that, he's got a brilliant opportunity to establish himself as that person.
Well, you mentioned Anthony Joshua. Joe and Sam were quite vocal in saying they'd take that fight on June 1st, but Eddie kind of dismissed it. What were your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, Sam embarked on a campaign to pester Eddie into having AJ fight him. Look, I think all of boxing is about risk-reward. Matchmaking is about risk-reward, and you're looking for 70-30, 80-20 fights to push your boxer on. I think with Jarrell Miller, they had the perfect opponent. I think he looked the part, he taught the part, he had a great record. And I think the truth of it is you don't really want to substitute a Joe Joyce in there. He's a different kind of boxer and probably just not high enough on the risk-reward for them. As, you know, I don't totally disagree with what Eddie said. I don't think what he said stands up to total scrutiny, like Joe's not well known enough, Joe's not well known in the US. I don't really agree with that, but I see why it's not the fight they want. It doesn't work on the risk-reward scale.
It's been linked with Andy Ruiz Jr., Michael Hunter as well, but it seems like the Andy Ruiz Jr. story is getting some pace now. If you compare him to Joyce, obviously I'm thinking that you think Joyce is much more competitive even at this stage.
Yeah, look, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be someone like Trevor Bryan, actually, because I think optically the Andy Ruiz fight against Joshua doesn't really work. Joshua's, you know, an amazing physical specimen. You put him next to Andy Ruiz, he's effectively not, you know, doesn't look the same as Anthony Joshua. The matchup doesn't work optically there. I think you can't underestimate Andy Ruiz, but his record's not that great. Lost to Stiverne, didn't look great against Parker. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Bryan.
But it's arguable with Trevor Bryan and Andy Ruiz that Joyce has already got the best win with Stiverne.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I think Joe would be a very credible opponent for that, but I think you're kind of ignoring the reality of boxing if people don't really understand why Eddie doesn't want to put him in against Joe. It's not that he thinks Joe's going to beat him, it's that it just doesn't work risk-reward. It's a much higher risk, Joe's fight, because, look, he's a silver medalist at the Olympics. Anthony knows him well, they've sparred each other well. Would Anthony feel confident beating him? I'm sure he would. But they know, everybody knows, it's way riskier.
Joshua Joyce one day at Wembley would be huge, but obviously Joyce has just signed with BT and Frank Warren, and obviously Joshua's exclusive to Sky, so that adds a bit of complication, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the deal is a fixed-term deal, but we would love to fight. You know, Joe would like to fight anyone. Joe will fight Dubois, fight Joshua, fight Fury. I think fights can get made. I think if, for example, if Joe beat Tyson Fury at some point in the future, which is a fight that could easily be made with Frank Warren, then I think clamour for that kind of fight. But yeah, it certainly doesn't make it easier. But I think it's a fight Joe would love to have, given the history he's got with Anthony.
Talking about Dubois, you mentioned him. The British board have sort of ordered that fight, saying they want Joyce and Dubois to fight. Yeah, that would be an epic fight. Two Brits, obviously both unbeaten. Their profiles rising with each day. So yeah, hopefully that can happen.
Yeah, look, Joe wants the big fights. Joe wants to fight Daniel, but he also wants to fight for the WBA mandatory title. He also wants to fight Kabayel. And that's the reason we've come to Frank Warren, to make these fights happen with Richard. So, we'd love that fight to happen.
What do you think's more likely for this year? A matchup with Dubois or a fight with either Kabayel or Manuel Chua?
I think they're all equally likely, actually. I think that, we've got to be realistic. A step up to a world title is unlikely to happen this year. But a step up in quality of fights is likely to happen. And so we're looking at Joe's coming out on May 18th. I don't think that will be with the greatest respect to the opponent he faces, I don't think that will be like an A-level opponent. But I think after that, July, we're looking for a very competitive fight. And probably one or two more times later in the year, very competitive fights for Joe. Maybe again, look, we've heard what the price tag Manuel Char put on himself at 4 or 5 million. We know people are asking for a lot of money. And when we were talking about risk-reward before, Joe Joyce is not an easy person to match, because it's a heavy risk for someone against Joe. And given that he's not fought 10 times yet, there's not that great, there's not that great reward. If you beat Joe Joyce and you're a top heavyweight, people say, well, he's only boxed less than 10 times. So Joe's hard to match, and people we want to match him with want a lot of money.
Just the last one, Adam. Obviously, Joe's signed with Frank Warren. He's also linked up with Adam Booth as his new trainer. Is he okay with all this change going on in such short space of time?
Yeah, Joe's good with it. We as his management have to talk to him, and he ultimately makes the decisions about the next level. And you're always looking to improve, and you're always looking to have the best. Yeah, there has been quite a lot of change happen in a short amount of time, but in Adam Booth we have an incredible trainer, and in Frank Warren we got a terrific promoter as well. So lots of change, but it's all for the good. It's all positive.
And in Sam Jones and Adam Moraley, he's got brilliant management.
Yeah. You like to think so, but I mean, all we can do is try and make him look as good as he can.
All right, Adam Moraley, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that's great. Thanks, Umar.
Cheers, Adam.